A supermarket cashier noticed a stranger watching a little boy. The boy's bodyguard was distracted by a phone call. She pressed the panic button and saved the child. The boy's father was a mafia boss, and now she's on his payroll. Let's go back a week. Enjoy. Lana runs the scanner over a can of peas. There's a short beep. She places the can in a customer's bag. The weather outside the glass facade of the supermarket is gray. A typical weekday. There's no long line at her checkout. She's positioned in the corner, near the aisle to the back room. This is her regular spot. Lana loves this checkout. From here, she has a view of the entire sales floor, the long aisles of groceries, the shelves of household chemicals, the entrance, and the glass display cases of the bakery. She's been working here for 3 years. She knows many of the regular customers by sight. She's seen it all. Arguments over prices, lost children, attempts at theft. Her eyes have learned to spot oddities. Her hands do their work automatically, picking up items, scanning them, putting them in a bag. Her thoughts can be anywhere, about the rent bill, what to cook for dinner, the book she's reading, but part of her attention is always here, in the store. It's a professional habit. The cashier is also a kind of gatekeeper. Now, 2 elderly women with half-empty carts are standing in line. They're taking their time, chatting. Lana smiles politely, orders yogurts and cheese. Her gaze glides around the room. A man in a green jacket stands near the fish counter, choosing something. 2 teenagers are laughing at a video on their phone at the self-checkout. At the fruit display, a young mother is trying to restrain her child, who is reaching for the brightly colored apples. Everything is as usual. The silence is broken only by the hum of refrigerators, the clicking of scanners, and muffled voices. Lana finishes serving the women and wishes them a good day. She turns her gaze to the entrance. 2 glass doors slide open. A boy enters the store. He looks about 6, maybe 7. He has a very neat haircut, black hair cut in straight strands. He's wearing a short dark blue coat, clearly expensive, and clean sneakers with an unusual pattern. He doesn't run or skip, but walks calmly, almost demurely. His large, dark eyes scan the space with curiosity. He looks like a little prince exploring a new planet. A man enters behind him, half a step behind. A Korean. He is very large, broad-shouldered. He is wearing a simple dark tracksuit, but it fits him perfectly. His face is expressionless. It is like a stone mask. His eyes do not wander over the merchandise. They look around with quick, sharp movements. He looks at people, at corners, at exits. His attention is focused not on the store, but on the space around the boy. He is a shadow. Security. The boy heads for the candy counter near the checkout. His companion stands at a respectful distance, arms crossed. He takes a position from which he can see the child, the entrance, and most of the store. His posture suggests complete readiness. Lana notices how one of the store's security guards, usually lounging in a chair near the exit, straightens up imperceptibly and becomes wary upon seeing the couple. This means they're not new here, and they're already known. The boy selects a chocolate bar with a brightly colored wrapper. He reaches for it, and his coat opens slightly. Lana sees a complex design embroidered in gold thread on the sweater inside. Some kind of bird or dragon. This is unusual. The boy turns and says something to his companion in his own language. The other man nods slightly, almost imperceptibly, without changing his expression. He gives permission. The boy takes the bar and goes to the self-checkout. His security guards move alongside him, keeping their distance. Everything is smooth and orderly. Lana is about to return to her thoughts when her gaze lingers on one person again. A man stands by the water and juice aisle, 10 meters from the self-checkout counter. He's of average height, wearing a gray windbreaker and dark pants. He holds a large bottle of mineral water in his hands, but doesn't look at it. He's looking across the room directly at the boy, trying to scan his chocolate bar. Something clicks in Lana's memory. She's seen this man before, more than once. He shows up at the store sometimes, always alone, always buying something small. Water, a loaf of bread, a stick of gum. He's unremarkable, but now his demeanor is different. Usually, he just stands in line, staring at the floor or his phone. Now he's frozen. His posture is tense. He's not just looking, he's observing. His eyes are narrow, squinting. His gaze slides from the boy to the large Korean man in the tracksuit and back to the boy. He studies them. The boy finishes his purchase and takes the receipt. His security guard steps forward to take the bag. At that moment, the man at the rack also makes a slight movement forward, as if about to move. But he doesn't. He freezes again. Lana feels a chill under her skin. This isn't the look of a casual shopper. This is the look of someone searching for something or someone. Lana quickly glances at the boy's guard. He seems oblivious. He takes the bag and places his hand on the boy's shoulder, gently guiding him toward the exit. His stony face is turned toward the door. He's doing his job, leading the child out of the room. He doesn't glance around the way the man at the water counter does. The man in the gray windbreaker slowly, too slowly, places the bottle of water back on the shelf. He doesn't buy anything else. He simply stands and watches the departing couple. He watches the boy and his shadow walk through the glass doors into the gray light of day. Only when they are completely out of sight does the man turn away. He lowers his head and walks slowly toward the exit, past the checkout counters, buying nothing. Lana follows him with her eyes until he disappears into the stream of people on the street. Suddenly, the noise in her ears becomes too loud. The hum of refrigerators, the laughter of teenagers, the clicking of cash registers. She places another can of peas on the scanner. Her hand moves automatically, but now there's only one thought in her head, clear and distinct. This man was watching the boy, and she saw it. The little prince, as Lana mentally calls him, heads not toward the exit, but deeper into the store. He tugs his security guard by the sleeve, pointing to a colorful display of children's magazines and small toys near the checkout. The guard, Jongho, Lana had heard that name once when the manager greeted them, nods his head in agreement. The boy becomes engrossed in examining the covers. The game begins. The man in the gray windbreaker, who was about to leave, notices this. He stops abruptly at the door. He pretends to check something in his pocket. Then he turns and walks not toward the exit, but along the checkout line, as if looking for an open one. He passes Lana without looking at her. His eyes are fixed on the boy at the magazine rack. Lana watches him without turning her head. She watches out of the corner of her eye. The man reaches the end of the checkout line, the wall. He can't go any further without attracting attention. He stops near a rack of batteries and lighters. He picks up a pack of batteries and examines it, but his head is slightly turned to the side. His gaze, like a beam, is fixed on the child. Jongho, the bodyguard, stands next to the boy. His posture is a study in alertness. His back is almost to the man, but his position allows him to see his reflection in the large convex observation mirror hanging from the ceiling in the corner. He sees everything too. Lana notices how his shoulders have become slightly more tense. He doesn't look directly at the stranger, but he has noticed him. The man at the battery rack senses it. He puts down the package and slowly, deliberately walks back. He passes the checkout line, but now chooses to walk not down the central aisle, but down the side aisle, next to the rows of merchandise. He seems to disappear between the shelves of tea and coffee. Lana loses sight of him for a few seconds. Her heart gives an unpleasant jolt. She automatically smiles at the customer, handing her a can of coffee, and punches it. Her eyes frantically scan the room. There he is. He's already in a different place. He's walked around the perimeter and is now standing at the beginning of the meat section, 50 paces away from the boy. He's picked up a package of ground meat from the refrigerated shelf and is carefully reading the ingredients. But his line of sight is focused precisely across the room to the magazine rack. This is no longer random. It's a system. He moves, changes positions, but his goal is constant. He's watching. He's studying the routine, the distance, the behavior of the guards. It's a game of hide and seek where one player doesn't even suspect they're the target. The boy finally chooses a small comic book. Satisfied, he shows it to Jongho. He takes the magazine to go pay. At that very moment, a vibration sounds in the pocket of Jongho's tracksuit, followed by a quiet but insistent ringing. Lana thinks this is a mistake. A professional of his caliber shouldn't be distracted, but the call is obviously very important. Jongho stares at the phone screen for a second. His stony expression changes. Anxiety sets in, a sense of urgency. He presses answer. He raises the phone to his ear and turns away from the boy just half a step, just 3 seconds. His voice quietly but quickly begins to speak in Korean. Those 3 seconds are enough. The man in the gray windbreaker, still standing by the meat section, freezes. He sees a moment of weakness. He sees the wall between him and the chai momentarily turn away. He places the package of ground beef on the nearest shelf. He takes one clear, decisive step forward, then another. He no longer hides. He moves straight down the center aisle. His path leads to the magazine rack, towards the boy who, tired of waiting, has begun leafing through another comic book, standing half a meter from his guard. The distance between the man and the child closes. 50 steps, 40. Jongho is still talking on the phone, his back partially obscuring the boy. but he doesn't see the approaching threat. The store security guard is somewhere far away, at the entrance. Lana feels as if all sound around her has disappeared. She doesn't hear the hum of the refrigerators. She doesn't hear any voices. She sees only this picture, like in a silent film, the guard's back by the telephone, a carefree boy with a magazine, and a man walking quickly and purposefully straight toward him. His hands are free, clenched into fists. His face is focused. There's no curiosity in his eyes. There's a task there. A thought flashes through Lana's mind. She can pretend she didn't see anything. It's none of her business. It could be dangerous. This man could be armed. This Jongho looks like he's from another harsh world. A world she'd rather not enter. But she also sees this boy, the little prince in the blue coat. He's simply leafing through a comic book. He trusts the adult next to him. He doesn't see the man who's already 20 steps away and getting closer. Her body moves faster than her mind. Under the cash register, next to her knee, there's a small button. It's pale yellow, unmarked. It's only pressed if something serious has happened. A fight, a theft, an aggressive customer. Pressing this button sends a signal to the receptionist and the security guard at the entrance. Lana, without looking down, without changing her expression, moves her foot. She feels the rubber button with the toe of her shoe. Then, still looking ahead at the empty conveyor belt, she presses it. Once, firmly. A quiet signal, inaudible in the general noise, goes out. Lana doesn't know if it will work. Maybe the button isn't working. Maybe the administrator isn't on duty today. Maybe the security guard will hear, but go the wrong way. She looks up and stares directly at Jongho. He's still talking on the phone, but his posture has shifted. He's listening to something very important. The man in the gray windbreaker is already 10 steps away. His hand begins to move, not toward his gun, no, but toward his pocket, as if he wants to get something out. A handkerchief? Or something else? Lana can't just watch anymore. She does the only thing she can. She catches Jongho's eye. He glances at her, because the cashier's head movement, looking not at the customer, but directly at him, is unnatural. Their gazes meet for a split second, and Lana, barely noticeable, just a movement of her pupils, points him there, toward the central aisle, where the man is walking. She does it once, quickly and precisely. That's all she can do. Jongho's eyes, usually cold and assessing, were slightly clouded with concentration on the phone, but a momentary question flashed in them as he caught the cashier's eye. Lana doesn't blink. She doesn't look away. Her face is perfectly calm, but there's steel in her gaze. Slowly, so slowly that the movement is almost imperceptible, she tilts her chin ever so slightly, not down, but to the side, to the right, to where the man in the gray windbreaker continues to move down the center aisle. It's a barely perceptible movement, just a slight nod, but it's filled with meaning. She doesn't shout, doesn't point. She conveys a quiet, urgent message. Danger is out there. It all happens in an instant. The stone mask on Jongho's face cracks. All residual thoughts of the phone call vanish. His eyes, following Lana's direction, find the man. He sees the distance, the direction, the determination in his step. Professionalism trumps everything. Jongho doesn't shout. He doesn't even end the call. He simply tosses the phone into his pocket in one fluid motion. His entire body spins with inhuman speed. He doesn't come between the man and the boy. He's already between them. His large frame completely obscures the child. At the same time, his right hand, quick and precise, reaches down. He doesn't grab the boy by the clothes. He grabs his wrist, firmly but without pain. It's a powerful, controlling grip that leaves no choice. Let's go. Now. His voice is quiet, low, and brooks no argument. He says it in his own language, but the tone is universal. The boy flinches, looking up from his comic book. He looks up and sees his guard's face. He sees not the usual concentration, but something new, an immediate, pure readiness. The child freezes. He drops the magazine and allows himself to be led. Jongho is already moving, not running, but with quick, long strides, leading the boy away from the stranger, toward the service exit near the bakery, which he must have noted when he entered. The man in the gray windbreaker freezes mid-stride. He saw it all. The cashier's gaze flickered to the bodyguard, the sharp turn he made, the grab for the child. His calculations collapsed in an instant. His plan, built on a moment of weakness, was exposed. No anger or panic appears on his face. A cold, quick assessment of the situation appears. The situation has changed. The target is protected and leaving. The guard is now fully alert and likely alerting his men. The store security guard at the entrance also seems to have started looking around. Having received the signal, he doesn't run. Running attracts attention. He turns on the spot with an unnatural smoothness. His movement looks as if he's simply changed his mind about going forward and decided to turn back. He lowers his head, turns up the collar of his windbreaker. His steps are quick, but not fussy. He moves straight toward the main exit, not looking at anyone. He doesn't look back. He becomes part of the stream of people leaving with their purchases. 3 seconds later, his gray back merges with the gray light behind the glass door, and a moment later, he dissolves into the crowd on the sidewalk. He simply disappears, as if he were never there. In the supermarket, the refrigerator hums again. The scanners ring. Only the discarded comic book on the floor by the counter and Lana's pale face behind the checkout indicate that something just happened. The store's security guard, a young man named James, receives a signal from the manager. He jumps up from his chair and immediately looks in the direction of the call, Lana's corner. He sees a large Korean man quickly leading a child toward the service exit. This is his first clue. The second is a man in a gray windbreaker who turns sharply and practically runs toward the main doors. James makes a choice. He rushes toward the exit, trying to intercept the stranger. He doesn't yell, "Stop." He's simply trying to catch up, but the man is already at the door. James sees his back 2 steps away. He reaches out to grab his shoulder. At that moment, the man abruptly pushes the heavy glass door outward, right at the running James. James instinctively jumps back to avoid being hit. That second of delay proves decisive. The man slips out into the street and dives into the stream of people on the sidewalk. He doesn't run in a straight line. He makes a sharp turn around the corner of the advertising stand, and when James runs out onto the street, he can no longer see him. Gray jackets, black coats, hoods. The man has disappeared. James looks around, but realizes that pursuing him is useless. He returns to the store, his face tense and a little embarrassed. 2 minutes later, Jong-ho returns to the sales floor alone. The boy has apparently already been taken away through the service exit. The bodyguard's face is once again like a stone mask, but a cold fire burns in his eyes. He approaches Lana's register. There's no line. He stands right in front of her. His gaze captivates her. "You saw," he says. It's not a question, but a statement. His voice is very quiet, almost a whisper, but there's a hint of steel in it. He speaks with a slight accent, but clearly. He doesn't say hello or thank you. He has no time for formalities now. "Tell me, what did you see?" From the very beginning. Lana nods. Her hands tremble slightly, and she clenches them into fists to hide it. She looks away from his piercing eyes and at the counter, focusing on the details. "He was standing by the water when you came in," Lana begins. Her voice is even but quiet. "He looked at the boy, then at you. Then he pretended to leave, but then came back. He walked around the room, always on the same side as you. From batteries to meat. He read the labels, but he didn't buy. He just watched." She pauses, collecting her thoughts. Average height, gray windbreaker, old, worn jeans, dark sneakers, thin face, nose with a slight hump, dark hair cropped short. On the back of his right hand, on the hand, there was a small scar, white, in the shape of an L. He blinked a lot when he looked, and his left hand was always in the pocket of his windbreaker. She describes his final movement. When you turned away from the phone, he immediately walked forward, straight across the room, quickly. His hand reached into his pocket. I pressed the button and nodded to you." Jong-ho listens without interrupting. He doesn't take notes. He simply absorbs every word, every fact. His eyes narrow as she describes the scar. It's an important detail. Jong-ho listens to the end. He doesn't interrupt. When Lana falls silent, silence hangs in the air, broken only by the familiar hum of the store. The bodyguard doesn't say, "Thank you." He doesn't smile. His face remains inscrutable, but something within it changes. The tension in his cheekbones eases slightly. His eyes, which a second ago bore into her with cold analysis, now look differently. There's no warmth in them, but there's a clear, unmistakable recognition. He looks at her not as a bystander, but as an ally who has done something important, something right. He nods briefly, almost imperceptibly. Just once. This nod is heavy, meaningful. It means, I understand everything. The information has been received. This gesture contains all his gratitude. It is not expressed in words. It lies in the fact that he stops interrogating her. He accepts her words as the pure truth, without question. He puts his hand in his pocket and takes out his phone. His fingers quickly type out a message. He is already working. But before looking away, he glances at Lana once more. And in this last glance, lasting a split second, she reads something like respect. A professional has acknowledged the actions of another professional, even if it is a simple cashier. Then he turns and quickly, but deliberately, walks toward the service exit through which he led the boy. His figure disappears behind the door marked staff. 15 minutes pass. Lana tries to work, to serve customers, but her mind is elsewhere. Her hands move automatically. She flinches when the main doors open again. A man enters the store. It's not Jong-ho. It's a different Korean. Tall, slender, wearing a long, perfectly tailored black coat. The coat is open, revealing a dark gray suit and a white shirt without a tie. His movements are smooth, confident, without fuss. He enters as if entering his own office. His face is the face of a man accustomed to the world around him, freezing when he appears. It is beautiful, but completely empty. Not a trace of emotion, no anxiety, no anger, no curiosity, only complete chilling control. This is the boy's father, Kim Tae-yong. Jong-ho follows him at a respectful distance. The bodyguard now looks even more collected, if that's possible. He's a step behind and to the left of the newcomer. His eyes search every corner, every person, but now with redoubled intensity. The very atmosphere of the store changes. Several customers at the checkout instinctively avert their gaze. Security guard James pauses at his counter, trying to remain inconspicuous. Even the hum of the refrigerators seems quieter to Lana. Kim Tae-yong doesn't look around. His gaze immediately falls on Jong-ho, who whispers something in his ear as they walk. They head toward the checkout line, not toward Lana, but toward an empty space by the wall. They stop a few meters from her cash register. Lana pretends to be completely absorbed in her work, but her peripheral vision and hearing are extremely sharp. She sees Kim Tae-yeon listening to Jong-ho's brief report. The bodyguard speaks quickly in a low voice, in Korean. He doesn't gesture, he simply states the facts. Lana doesn't understand the words, but she understands the body language. Jong-ho speaks clearly, his head bowed slightly. He doesn't make excuses. He reports. At one point, he barely moves his chin in her direction. Kim Tae-yeon doesn't turn his head. His eyes, cold and dark, remain on the bodyguard's face. He nods once, briefly, having heard everything. Then there's a pause. Short, but very intense. Kim Tae-yong says something in response. Just one phrase. His voice is quiet, even, without intonation. It sounds like metal sliding on ice. After that, he finally turns his head. His gaze moves slowly, like a scanner beam, across the room and stops at Lana. He looks at her differently than Jong-ho. Jong-ho's gaze was appraising, the gaze of an operative. This man's gaze is the gaze of a master. He studies her. He measures her. He places her into his picture of the world, like a new, unexpected element. There is neither kindness nor threat in his eyes. There is only pure, impersonal attention. Lana feels her back straighten under this gaze. She can't look away, even though she wants to. She simply stands, meeting this gaze, feeling her fingers grow slightly cold. She understands that now everything is about to change. The conversation is over. Now it's her turn. Kim Tae-yong begins to move. He walks slowly toward her cash register, his steps silent on the linoleum floor. Jong-ho remains in his place against the wall, but his posture suggests full alertness. He watches not his boss, but the entire room around him, creating an invisible perimeter. Lana feels her stomach clench. A customer stands before her, a half-empty shopping cart in hand. She tries to concentrate on scanning a jar of olives, but her fingers are shaking slightly. She places the jar in a bag and looks up. Kim Tae-yong is already there. He doesn't join the line. He simply approaches the edge of the checkout, off to the side. He waits, without seeming impatient. The customer, an elderly woman, glances sideways at the tall man in the black coat, and instinctively takes a step back, hastily rummaging through her wallet. Lana quickly prints out the receipt and returns the change. The woman leaves, barely looking back. Now they're alone at the checkout. The space between them feels filled with a thick, invisible pressure to Lana. Kim Tae-yong looks at her. His gaze is direct, unwavering. "My name is Kim Tae-yong," he says. His voice is calm, quiet, and his pronunciation is clear. He doesn't have Jong-ho's accent. He speaks almost without it. "You helped my son. I'm grateful to you for that." He says it evenly, as if stating a fact. His words of gratitude are polite, but completely cold. There's no warmth or emotion in them. It's a formality, but said with such weighty seriousness that it sounds like the highest reward. He doesn't smile. His face remains an impenetrable mask. He simply records the fact. She took action, and he acknowledges its value. He doesn't extend his hand to shake hers. Instead, his right hand moves slightly in his coat pocket. He withdraws it. Clutched in his long fingers is a small rectangle of thick white paper, a business card. He places it not in her hand, but on the black rubber conveyor belt in front of her. The card lies perfectly flat, parallel to the edge of the counter. It is completely white. There are no logos on it, no company name, not even his name. Just a row of numbers printed in simple black font in the middle. A phone number, nothing else. Lana looks at the business card, then looks up at him again. He watches her reaction. "This number," he says, nodding ever so slightly toward the card. His tone leaves no doubt about its importance. "It's always active. If you see this person again, if you notice anything unusual, if you need anything," he pauses briefly, letting his words settle. "You call. Right away." He takes another step forward, just a little. Now he's very close. Lana smells a faint, almost elusive scent of expensive cologne and the cold air from the street. "People who were here today may contact you for clarification," he continues, his voice becoming even quieter, almost intimate, which sounds strange and frightening. "Answer their questions, only their questions." Now comes the most important part. He tilts his head a millimeter. His eyes seem even darker. "About today," he says, each word falling like a drop of ice. "You don't need to tell anyone. Not the police, not the journalists, not your friends, not your family. This is very important." He doesn't threaten her directly. He doesn't say what will happen if she speaks. He simply states a demand. But the sheer flatness of his tone, the icy certainty with which he delivers it, is where the power of this quiet threat lies. It's not a request. It's an order from a man accustomed to having his orders obeyed. He looks into her eyes for a few more seconds, checking to see if she understands. Then, without waiting for a response or a nod, he pulls away slightly. His mission here is complete. He turns, and without another word, walks toward the exit. Jongho immediately takes up position behind him, and they step out into the gray day, leaving Lana alone in front of a white business card with a black rubber band. The last hour of her shift drags on painfully. Lana pretends everything is fine. She smiles at customers, scans items, says, "Have a nice day." But her thoughts are completely preoccupied with the white card that's now in her pants pocket. She put it there quickly, glancing around when no one was at the register. The paper feels thick and heavy, though it weighs next to nothing. She can feel it through the fabric. It seems to emanate a slight warmth, or so she imagines. The pocket burns her thigh, as if it contains not a business card but a coal. She catches the glances of her colleagues several times. Administrator Svetlana looks at her with a silent question, but doesn't approach. Security guard James walks around gloomy and silent. Everyone senses something serious has happened, but no one dares ask. Lana is glad about this. She doesn't know what to say. Finally, the sound of the end of her workday rings. She closes the register, deposits the money, signs the register. All the actions are habitual, automatic. She goes to the back room, takes off her uniform vest, and hangs it in the locker. Her fingers find the corner of a business card in her pocket. She doesn't take it out. She just touches it. Then she picks up her bag and leaves the store through the service exit. The evening air is cool, but not refreshing. It feels thick. At home, in her small apartment, Lana can finally breathe a sigh of relief. She puts on the kettle and changes out of her work clothes for soft lounge pants and a t-shirt. But she can't relax. She sits down on a kitchen chair and places a white business card on the table in front of her. It lies between the napkin holder and the salt shaker, like a foreign object. Lana looks at the numbers. A simple row. No name, no title, just a number. Her thoughts spin in circles. Her first impulse is to take this card, tear it into tiny pieces, and throw it in the trash, and then try to forget. Forget about the boss in the black coat, his icy gaze, the man in the gray windbreaker. Pretend it was just a strange incident at work that ended. Move on with her life. But then a second thought occurs to her, cold and rational. If she throws away the number, she'll be alone. With this story. With the fact that she's witnessed it. If this man, Matthew, she mentally gives him that name, returns, or if those people come to the store again, she'll have no contact. No way to call and warn them. What if they think she's hiding something? What if they don't like that she threw away their card? A business card isn't just a piece of paper, it's a channel. and giving up that channel could be perceived as hostile. She doesn't know the rules of their game, but she understands that by touching on this situation, she's already in it. She can't ignore it completely. She carefully picks up the business card and puts it in a small wooden box where she keeps old jewelry and mementos. She hides it out of sight, but she doesn't get rid of it. The next day is Lana's day off. She tries to distract herself by watching a TV series and rummaging through her closet. But inside, a constant simmer of tension and anticipation lingers. Her phone is lying nearby on the couch. Around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it vibrates and plays a ringtone. A number appears on the screen. Unknown. Not in her contacts. It's not a spam call. Those are usually shorter. It's a regular landline number. Lana freezes. She looks at the screen. The phone rings once, twice, 3 times. Her heart starts beating faster. She realizes who it could be. She swipes her finger across the screen, accepting the call. "Hello," she says, her voice sounding slightly hoarse. "Is that Lana?" a male voice asks. It's quiet, neutral. She can't recognize it. It's not Jongho's voice or Kim Taeyong's. "Yes," she answers shortly. "You need to come to the meeting to discuss yesterday. For clarification." The voice speaks politely, but without hesitation. This is not a request. This is information. Lana is silent for a couple of seconds. "Where?" "Cafe by the fireplace at 15 Parkovaya Street. In an hour. Will that be convenient for you?" The name of the cafe was familiar to her. It was an inexpensive public place in the center, always crowded. Neutral territory, just as Kim Taeyong had promised. Lana briefly considered declining, saying she was busy. But what would that change? They'd simply reschedule, or decide she didn't want to cooperate. "Okay," she says. "I'll be there in an hour. Thank you. We ask that you not warn anyone about the meeting. Goodbye." The connection is cut off. Lana lowers the phone. She sits for another minute, staring at the wall. Then she gets up and goes to get ready. Her thoughts are clear and distinct now. She has no choice. She goes to the shower. The Fireplace Cafe is a small, cozy place. Lana walks in and immediately sees Jongho. He's sitting at a table in the far corner, his back to the wall, facing the entrance. On the table in front of him is an empty espresso cup. Opposite him is a second cup, already filled with cappuccino and a slice of apple pie. It's for her. Jongho doesn't wave or stand. He simply looks at her and nods slightly. Lana comes over and sits down. She places her bag on the empty chair next to her. "Thank you," she says, looking at her drink. Jongho nods again. His expression is less tense than it was in the store, but still serious. "Thank you for coming," he says. His voice is still quiet. He doesn't waste time on small talk. "I need to clarify a few details. About what you saw yesterday." "Okay," says Lana. She doesn't touch her coffee. Jongho takes a small notebook and a thin pen from his jacket's inside pocket. He doesn't turn on the recorder. "You mentioned a scar in the shape of an L. On which arm exactly?" "On the right." "On the back, closer to the thumb," Lana answers, closing her eyes for a second to remember. "Was it clean or old? From childhood?" Lana thinks. "It looks old. White, smooth, no seams. Like an old cut." Jongho makes a note. "When he walked across the hall, did he limp? Did he limp even a little?" "No." Lana shakes her head. "The movements were smooth, quick. He was collected. Clothes. Besides the windbreaker. Was there a t-shirt underneath? A sweater? A dark turtleneck. Gray or black? The neck is covered," she recalls. The questions come one after another. Precise, specific, about where exactly the man's eyes were looking, how often he blinked, which pocket of his windbreaker his left hand was in, the color of the laces on his sneakers. Jongho clarifies every detail, like a police investigator. He doesn't comment on her answers, only nods and writes. This methodical approach calms Lana a little. There are no emotions here, only work. When the questions are over, Jongho closes the notebook and puts it away. He pauses and looks at Lana. His gaze changes, not probing, but assessing her as a person. "Now a request," he says. "We don't think this man will return to that store anytime soon. He knows he's been spotted, but we can't be 100% sure. He might try another approach, or come back later when things have calmed down." He rests his elbows on the table and folds his fingers. "You work there every day. You see everyone. You're an observer. We ask you to be attentive. If you see him again, anywhere, at the store, in the parking lot, on the street nearby, you call that number immediately. Don't think, don't doubt. Just call." He pauses again, letting the words sink in. "You don't have to do anything yourself. Don't approach him, don't talk. Just call and tell him where he is and what he's doing. That's all. That's all we need from you. You'll be our eyes where we're not. Lana is silent. She looks at her hands folded in her lap. She thinks about the white business card in the box, about Kim Taeyong's icy gaze, about the quiet threat in his words. Fear advises her to refuse, to politely say that she doesn't want to get involved in this anymore, that it's none of her business. But then another face appears before her mind's eye. A little boy in a blue coat. He's leafing through a comic book, completely carefree. He trusts the adult world. And this world has sent him a man with cold eyes and a hand in his pocket. She imagines what might have happened if she hadn't pressed the button then, if Jongho hadn't turned around. This image outweighs her fear. She's worried about the fate of this child. Not his father, not their business, not their strange rules. Specifically the child. She doesn't want anything to happen to him, and now she, a simple cashier, finds herself in a position where she can prevent it. This gives her a strange, unsettling sense of responsibility. She looks up and meets Jongho's gaze. There's no pressure in his eyes. There's only anticipation and a hint of fatigue. Okay, Lana says clearly. Her voice doesn't waver. If I see him, I'll call. Right away. Jongho studies her face for a few seconds, as if testing her sincerity. Then he nods, something vaguely resembling approval tugging at the corner of his mouth. Thank you, he says simply. He pushes his chair back to leave. Drink your coffee and eat the pie. You deserve it. For the first time in the entire meeting, there's something human, something unrelated to work in his tone. He stands up, places a few bills on the table to pay for the order, and walks out of the cafe without looking back. Lana sits alone. She finally picks up a cup of cappuccino. Her hand barely trembles. She has made her choice. Now, every day, from the start of her shift, Lana discreetly scans the store. It's become a new habit, part of a ritual. She scans not only the merchandise, but also faces. She checks people at the water aisle, at the self-checkout counters, at the entrance. She's looking for a short Korean man or a boy. They haven't been seen since. She's looking for a man in a gray windbreaker. Her gaze has become more intent. She notices who stands in one place for too long, who checks their watches too often, who arrives without a shopping basket. A week passes. All is quiet. She's beginning to think nothing more will happen. And then, on Wednesday afternoon, her gaze, sliding along the street beyond the glass facade, freezes. Across the street from the store, there's a flower shop window. A man stands leaning against the wall next to it. He's wearing a dark blue jacket, not a gray windbreaker, and a cap. But the posture, that same frozen, tense look, and the thin face with the hooked nose, it's him. He's not looking at the flowers. He's looking across the street, straight at the supermarket entrance. Lana doesn't flinch. She slowly turns away, as if checking something under the counter. Her heart is pounding, but her hands remain calm. She takes her personal phone out of her pocket. It already has the shortcut number Jongho gave her saved. She quickly types out a text message. As agreed. He's here, at the flower shop across from the main entrance. Blue jacket, cap. She hits send. The signal goes out. She looks up again and continues working, but all her attention is there, behind the glass. About 5 minutes later, she sees two young men in ordinary jeans and jackets exiting her own supermarket. They look like shoppers. They leisurely cross the street at the crosswalk, talking to each other. They head straight for the same display case. The man in the blue jacket seems absorbed in observation, but a second before the two approach him to a critical distance, he turns his head sharply. His gaze glides over them, and he understands everything. Instantly, he doesn't look around, doesn't look for salvation. He simply throws the small duffel bag that was at his feet onto the sidewalk and pushes off from the wall. The next moment, he's running, not toward the car, but into a narrow alley between buildings. Two men rush after him, but within seconds, all three are out of sight. Only the abandoned bag remains on the sidewalk. The next day, halfway through her shift, a young man in a courier uniform approaches her cash register. He holds a small, sturdy craft envelope. Lana? He asks. She nods. He hands her the envelope, turns, and walks away. There is no name or address on the envelope. It is sealed. Lana places it under the counter, next to her purse. Lana opens the envelope at home in the evening. Inside is a wad of cash, neatly tied with a paper ribbon. She's never held such a sum in cash. This money isn't a month's salary, but rather several. Next to the wad lies a new business card, the same white rectangle, the same numbers. Only the paper is a little thicker. She takes the card and turns it over. There's nothing on the back, just pure white. She stares at the money for a long time, not touching it. This isn't a gift of gratitude. It's payment. Payment for her silence and her future attention. She puts the card back in the envelope, then carefully tucks the wad of bills inside. She puts the envelope back in the box, along with the first business card. Now there are 2 white rectangles and money she doesn't want to spend. She understands there's no turning back. She's not just a witness. She's become a component in their security system, an insignificant one, but useful. She agreed to be their eyes, and they appreciated the service, and now expect her to continue. Her choice was made back in the cafe when she said, "Okay." Now that choice has been materially confirmed. Her perception of her job has completely changed. Now every customer isn't just a client. They're the object of a quick, almost imperceptible assessment. She analyzes their behavior automatically. The person who walked down the same aisle 3 times without buying anything. The person who stares at her phone for too long while standing at the entrance. The woman who seems to be searching for someone with her eyes. She notices more details, remembers faces. It becomes part of her professional skill, like quickly working the cash register. She feels both tense and strangely prepared. A few more weeks pass. Kim Taeyong and his son no longer appear in the store. Not once. At first, Lana subconsciously awaits them every day, but then she realizes they won't be coming here anymore. It's reasonable. It's safe. At the thought, she feels a deep, almost physical relief. So her little prince in a blue coat is now somewhere else, under different protection. So that strange story with the surveillance really is over, at least here, at her workplace. Life is slowly returning to its normal routine. Work, home, shopping, occasional get-togethers with friends. She doesn't tell anyone about the envelope, the calls, or the meeting. Sometimes she catches herself still automatically scanning the crowd on the street, but it's just a habit now, not a worry. But every time she opens her jewelry box to pick up her earrings, she sees that craft envelope. It doesn't remind her of danger. It reminds her of a quiet hour in the middle of an ordinary day, when one decision, one look, and one text message changed the invisible course of events. And she understands that the new normal is a life in which she keeps a phone number in her jewelry box, a number she never wants to call, but which has already become part of her world.